You're listening to Happy Hour Hustle from the creative geniuses here at 834. We're funny, informative, and we swear. We talk all things marketing, communication, small business, plus we offer up hot takes on our industry and whatever else we feel like talking about. So, grab your drink of choice. It's always 5 o'clock at 834. And crank it up.
Welcome back, hustlers. Your friendly PR team here again, Maddie and Elena, for another chat about our favorite topic, the news. Well, it's mine at least. Elena can vouch for me in that one.
Yes, I can.
Back with us again to talk about local news and how it's changing is Lauren Coomer, a reporter and anchor at Fox 17 in Grand Rapids. Lauren, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Obviously, with the rise of digital media and social media, we do know that news has changed a lot. What would you say are the biggest changes you've seen with how news is reported and consumed at the local level?
I would definitely say the more traditional viewers, they still love turning on their TVs, sitting down 5, 6 p.m. in the mornings, whenever it is, to consume their hour or 2 hours of news. But when it comes to the younger viewer, we're seeing with social media, a lot of people consume news off of, really any social media platform, Facebook, X, I almost said Twitter there, X, Instagram, TikTok is a huge one for Gen Z, I feel like, even some millennials. I use TikTok, but I definitely think there's less of with the younger viewer now, there's less of an attention span because of the way, we see the TikToks and the Reels, 10 seconds, a minute. That's about as much as they can take with stories. And they have to be compelling. So the way that news is consumed is much different. I know we were kind of chatting earlier too, like the fact checking just isn't there as much when people, younger generations, are not, fact checking to make sure. Not saying that the older generation doesn't do it too, but not making sure that the news they're getting is credible. So I think that's the most difficult part and the biggest change in what I've seen in terms of news.
How do you measure the success or the impact of your stories in the current media landscape?
So personally, I like to use multiple platforms to get my stories out there just because of the way that people consume news. It's different. I need to be better with TikTok because honestly, I feel like TikTok you can either take off with it or get like a few views. But in general, just being able to show the same story or I guess tell the same story several times in different ways on different platforms. I feel like that's the best. In terms of like how I'm viewing what people are engaging with and whatnot, it's really funny because my coworkers and I talk about this all the time. I will post on my social media one of my stories, okay? It'll get 2-3 likes, not always, but occasionally. Then I'll post something about my dog or my personal life. It's like 175 likes, comments. It's like, do you guys not like what I'm doing here?
But like your dog more.
No, exactly. So I've started trying to push my stories in a more conversational format so I can interact with people who are commenting or viewing my stories if they have any questions. But my biggest problem with that is people don't love to read the whole thing and they'll just read the headline and then comment what's in the story. So that's my biggest, I guess, I wish people would read the story more.
Absolutely. I do want to talk a little bit about, and you kind of mentioned it there, like there's a lot of stuff you have to do as a reporter. You have to post on social. A lot of reporters are shooting their stories. A lot of them are editing them because of this consolidation of work in newsrooms. Fewer people essentially doing more things. Is this a trend that you've seen in local news, in this market, and other markets?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I feel like especially, we're about mid-market, I would say, a mid-TV market. There's 210 total in the United States. So you go from all the way, like a small town in Nebraska to New York City, that's number one. So seeing the way that news has changed is actually really interesting, even since I started in news, I guess almost 10 years ago now, which is crazy. Or maybe not that long. I'm aging myself a little bit, maybe like 8 years ago. But just seeing the way it's changed that quickly from the traditional, just do your story, you can post it on Facebook if you want, definitely post it on the web, to now being able to push it to multiple platforms because of the way that people are consuming it is so different. And I would say the way that news is changing too, like our newsroom is doing it, they're not necessarily making fewer people do more. It's more so making one person do more, but having more resources to do it. So for example, before, you would see typically a reporter and a photographer out on a story.
Yeah.
Now, as things move, you're going to traditionally just see one person doing it all. And the way that they do it is going to change. It's not just standing in front of the camera talking, interviewing the person, and showing what they're telling, whatever story they're telling. It's going to be almost like, you know, if you've ever seen a vlog where like, hey, they're talking to the viewer to make it seem like it's more engaging. And I think that's to target younger viewers to want to watch the news too, or I guess consume news.
And we talked a little bit about social media before and how more and more that's being utilized. What would you say is kind of the social media strategy for your newsroom and how they utilize reporters or even like streaming, more digital platforms, things like that?
Honestly, we use all of it because people stream on different things. People have different favorites. Different generations have different favorites. A lot of the baby boomer generation loves Facebook. Even the millennials, you know, they love Facebook too. You know, Gen X. I mean, it just really depends on what stories we're pushing. You know, but we're trying to do the most with every single story that we cover so that it gets to a wide range of viewers. So we live stream on our Facebook page. We live stream on our website. We'll post the stories to TikTok. We'll post like little captioned pictures to Instagram, shorter versions to TikTok. So it just kind of depends on, I guess, what we're covering, but we try and cover it all, really. So yeah, I would say that's probably the way that it's kind of changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
How are you addressing issues of trust and credibility in local news?
So when it comes to trust and credibility, that's become difficult because of the way that people have been able to consume news in a variety of different aspects. I mean, you see people go on TikTok and talk about a news story, but they don't have all the facts or whatever it is. And that's something we battle every day just as journalists, since the, you know, quote unquote fake news started coming out. We're contacting local law enforcement. We're requesting the documents. One of the things that we're trying to do is get both sides. A lot of people love to complain, especially if it's a political story, that we're not covering both sides. But when we get complaints from both sides that we're not covering both sides, hey, it must be a fair story, right? So just ensuring that we're attributing our content to who's saying it, that's really important. We have the documents to back it up. We have started posting. So, for example, you know, a news story is a minute and a half, 2 minutes. We can't put everything in the news story. So posting the court documents that we received online so people can go and fully read that. That's just one example. But trying to provide as much information to the viewer so they know what they're consuming and where we're getting that information from.
Yeah, absolutely. And that only gets harder in an election year, I imagine.
Yeah, election year is just... Everyone in news during election year at the end, we're just exhausted. We're exhausted.
Just want that newsroom pizza.
we love the newsroom election night pizza. But I mean, election year is fun too. I mean, you know, used to be in news too. It's kind of that adrenaline. It's like when I say I love covering breaking news stories and half of them are bad, I don't mean because of the incident I'm covering. It's the adrenaline that you get covering them. We're uncovering that information as it happens so that viewers can also know what's happening. So it is fun, but it's also, it's stressful a little bit.
I remember. So local news, one of the reasons that it has higher levels of trust than like cable and that sort of thing is because the connection has the community. They cover community events, things like that. How would you say that you as a journalist, but also your station as an outlet, has worked with the community? What approaches have they taken to engage with the local community to help build that trust?
Yeah, so I mean, our slogan is "Let's Connect." I hate to bring out a slogan, you know, everybody's like, but ours is "Let's Connect," and that's because we're really community focused. So we talk to the community, we hear the issues that they're most important. We recently found out that our community here in Grand Rapids area, West Michigan, loves hearing about consumer issues. So those scams that a lot of people are a victim of, you know, ways that they can save money, especially with the inflation. So things like that. And then another thing that we've started is we've had these community roundtables where we have talked to just like community partners on the things that we're seeing here locally and some of the issues. And one of the things that we've started is helping tell the stories and ways that people are helping curb curb kids to go on the right path instead of the wrong. It's called Path Forward. So we've been covering a lot of things there where nonprofits, community members, businesses, whatever it may be, are helping these kids try and stay on a correct path so that they're successful individuals in the community. And so I would say that specifically has been really impactful, and that's one of the ways that we've stayed, I guess, in touch with our community. We also participate in a ton of community events. So, Coast Guard Festival is coming up. That's always so fun. Tulip Time was a big one for us. Really, whatever it is, we try to participate. Even just going to community events as a person. Like, I went to Foodie Fest last weekend. It was so fun. I had some really good pierogies. I forget the name of the business, but so good. So, attending events like that, we get story ideas through them by talking to people, and that's really important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else that you just wanted to add? I know it's a reporter casual question that they ask at the end of things, but seriously, just anything else that is on your mind regarding local news or anything else that you want to talk about?
I would say if you are going to tell, we were talking about this before, that's why I'm bringing it up. If you're going to tell people anything about something that you've heard in terms of news, double check that it's factual, please. We get these Facebook messages like, why aren't you covering this? And it's something that happened like 5 years ago or something that happened 3 years ago. A big one on social media nowadays is, you won't see this on the news. And it's something that happened several years ago. So just like fact check what you're reading, what you're looking at. For the PR people, I guess, that are listening, I guess if you guys have to give interviews, I feel like that's something that you sometimes have to do depending on what position you are with public relations or communications, whatever it may be. Always answer the question with what the reporter is saying to make it a full sentence. Those make the best sound bites, and they're only using about 10 seconds of what you use anyway. So don't be too stressed about going on, having to give this long spiel. Yeah. We do love a good, short, straight to the point interview. We love a little extra information, but aside from that, we're not trying to make you sound bad or twist what you're trying to say. It's truly just, we're trying to cover the story. Yeah. So if you give us the facts, give us what we need to report, then we're going to do just that.
Awesome. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us again. I appreciate it. It's always a blast. If you haven't listened to our last chat with Lauren, it's about pitching to the media, and it's a must hear. So do that. Until next time, hustlers, catch you on the download.